intonation wrong, wordplay, and hey everyone,
You know,
welcome.
I feel like the really the important part of this episode is how your hand keeps disappearing on the screen. Like despite the fact that you totally messed up the intro, that disappearing hand thing is freaking me out, Stevie.
I'm gonna have so much fun. Like I'm about to go put on a green shirt before I come back. Once I go to the bathroom, I used the green screen for oh, I see what you're saying. Damn it. I have a lot more work to do, but I hope you guys enjoy the green screen. I figured it out with the help of Joshua Robertson. But anyway, my name is Stevie Collier, and I'm here with my co-host, Andy Peloquin, and we are honored to have Whit McClendon, who will not be joining us with his very handsome face. Trust me, I saw it. I vouched for it. What's up, Whit?
Hey, I'm so sorry that there's something weird on my computer that makes the video not work out very well.
Is it Whit or White?
Whit.
Okay, I thought I saw White in my email and like it cut out the E or something.
No, my full name is William Whitsitt McClendon III, and my parents got tired of yelling at me using the whole thing because they'd hyperventilate and pass out. So they shortened it to Whit.
You sound like a prince of like some country.
Thank you. Yes, I do what I can.
Wait, you do radio for real?
Well, no, actually, I'm an announcer for a professional wrestling promotion here in town. And so, now entering the ring, weighing 350 pounds. It's like, I get to do that about once a month. It's a lot of fun.
It sounded too good to just be something you just did. So, well, awesome. Wait, what's up?
It's fun. Nothing. I was just saying it's a lot of fun. I enjoy being a little ridiculous.
Is it like amateur wrestling or?
No, these guys are pros. You would, if you saw some of the stuff they did, you would be as amazed and entertained as I am. That's why I still do it. I don't even watch wrestling on TV, but I love watching these guys live because they're doing some amazing things. It's a lot of fun.
It seems really dangerous.
It is.
They make it look easy, but I know once you get up there and you're standing on those ropes, it's not a close jump. It's a real fall.
No, I did a little bit of training with them, and yeah, let me tell you, it's brutal. It really is. The techniques that they end up doing, you must perform them correctly, or somebody's going to really get hurt. It's very impressive.
So, what is a move that you would consider one of the most dangerous, if you remember the name of it?
Oh, look, anything where they're coming from outside, from inside the ring, because there's not padding out there. That's just tile floor or concrete or parking lot or whatever, wherever they set up the ring. They come flying out of the ring from, the top rope or, it's dicey at best.
God, have you ever seen anybody get hurt?
I mean, these guys are very trained athletes, so it's I always go and kind of check on them.
I got you, man. It seems like you're breaking up just a little bit. Andy, is that just me?
No, it's breaking up here too.
Okay. Well, Whit, so what we do every podcast is we ask the other person something cool that they did this past week. Hello? Can you hear us? Hello? Hello? Wait, you may have to get off and get back on and see if that works for you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing we're not doing that drinking game, Stevie, because that would have been.
I think so. Now, yeah, it's been. And hello, I'm so sorry. It's very choppy. It's just hard for me to hear.
It's totally fun. It's just choppy. Just log off and log back on again.
Yes.
All right. I'll go do it. Hold on.
Awesome. Andy, what is something cool that happened to you this week?
So, well, let's say last week I finished up the first novel in the Cerberus series, right? So that's done. And this week I started work on the reader magnet, and I am I'm about the halfway mark right now. I'm about to have like 3 or 4 chapters of hardcore kick-ass action. So yeah, about halfway. The book's going to end up being a short novel, probably 40, 50,000 words by the time it's done. But I think it's going to be really awesome. It's going to be a great introduction to the world. It's going to fill in a lot of blanks from before the first book, and it'll lead into stuff throughout. So I'm really happy with how it's turning out.
So what happened to this one book where you're having trouble? I saw on Facebook that you had figured out a cool way to end it. Am I right?
I had kind of figured out a cool way to end it.
Okay.
I am still working on trying to do it properly.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Whit, you with us?
I am.
Okay, that sounds better. Yeah, if you ever have any trouble, I would just come in and come out.
All right. If I'm still a little weird here, then I can turn off the camera.
Yeah, just turn off the camera.
Yeah.
All right.
So Whit,
Okay.
what I was saying is every podcast we talk about something cool that happened to us the past week or sometime in the near past. So if you can think of anything, Andy was just telling us that he is just bought a brand new set of underwear for his collection. This one being
That's so exciting.
Yes. So Andy, you were saying about the final book?
Well, I'm still struggling through it. I'm at around 50,000 words, and I think I'm gonna need to put in at least another 25,000 words before I hit the end of the story, sort of the arc. That's the rough draft. So I got to go through and make it all super pretty. So it'll end up being around 150,000 words, but I'm struggling kind of with the story because, like I said, it's one trail, right? 100-mile trail. And I've got to find a realistic way for these guys to hold off an overwhelming number of enemies. And there are women and children, and I don't know whether I can find a way to save them or if I have to kill them all off, and how to do that in a way that's meaningful, and how to keep some of these characters, they're at least 3 of the characters have to walk out of this battle, and only one of them survives the actual book. So I've got to figure all of that kind of stuff out, and that's really, really difficult because it's just one straight trail.
Yeah, Jesus, that does sound hard. And you can't just do something like Lord of the Rings where you just bring in the eagles?
No, because there are no, mythological eagles of that sort.
God, that had to be hard. Well, I did the same thing with the Bizarre Blades with the dinosaurs. So that's cool, man. Anything else you want to talk about for something cool that happened to you this week?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. Whit, do you have yours?
Let's see. I spent most of the day setting up for the Fandemic comic convention here in Houston. So I've got a booth set up over there, and I'll be spending Friday, Saturday, Sunday talking to people and selling books and signing books, and that's always a lot of fun for me. I'm always trying to get a little bit better at talking to people when they come up to my booth, and so there's that. The rest of the week was, I'm sorry, Fandemic?
Yeah, what is Fandemic?
Yeah, Fandemic. It's basically a comic convention. It's like Comic Palooza.
Okay.
Let's see. I think Sebastian Stan will be there. There's a lot of different celebrities that will be there signing autographs, taking pictures, as well as a lot of artists, comic book artists and fantasy artists and other authors. And they'll have a lot of fantasy and sci-fi movie memorabilia and all that kind of thing. So it should be a lot of fun. The cosplay is always amazing. I can just stand there in my booth and watch people walk by all day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's fantastic. I have never been much of a convention goer, which makes me feel stupid, because I love all the stuff that is at a comic convention. I just never went. Yeah, I never went until just a few years ago. And now I can't get enough. I really enjoy doing it.
That's awesome.
It is so much fun.
I went to my first with Andy, and we had too much fun, I would say. It was a blast. In fact, I think Rebecca just did. Andy, didn't she just Photoshop one of your pictures from there?
Yes, lots and lots of them.
Lots and lots of them. Oh, that's great. So that's cool. Do you dress up?
Sometimes. It just depends. But at this point, I'm planning to just, jeans and a polo shirt, and just be comfortable when I'm talking to folks.
I got you. That's probably smart.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And beyond that, I might, I've got a Jedi outfit I could wear. I've got a pirate outfit I could wear. Yeah, I mean, I've got stuff. It just depends if I want to deal with it all day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is 95% of the fun.
Yeah.
I wore a Jane Cobb hat, the one from from Firefly, and I got so many people saying how much they loved it. Like it's just such an awesome hat, obviously, but dressing up is so much fun.
Yeah.
Stevie, where did you go?
Disappeared. I was messing with it just real quick, and now it's all screwed up. There we go. I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been bad if I couldn't have fixed that the entire podcast. But well, that's cool, man. If you had to dress up as somebody, though, who would it be?
Oh, I mean, if I think about the outfits that I have already, like I said, I've got a really good pirate outfit, and I've got a Jedi outfit with a very, very nice lightsaber, courtesy of my wife.
Cool.
I have a Scottish Highlander outfit that I actually got married in many years ago. It's like I'd just probably pick one of those.
Very nice, very nice. Well, cool. Well, something cool that happened to me this week. I don't know of any, actually. It's been pretty quiet. Actually, but I guess I could say that I've had a really good week. That's what I would say is my cool thing. I've just been very, very productive. I've gotten 39,000 words into I Am Mech, which
wow.
Yes. I haven't written 39,000 words this week. That's more of an Andy thing. That's a day for Andy.
Oh, okay. Oh.
No, definitely not. I wrote 2,000 words today, which is pretty low for someone like me at this point, but I'm pulling back a little bit, just trying to work on the story. I listened to a little bit more of I keep wanting to use like the production of Jigsaw's audiobook as my main thing, but I'm listening to it and I'm telling you guys, it is the best thing ever. It's so funny. And I actually got to talk to here's some good news. I got to talk to the narrator who did it. And this guy has got to be the nicest guy in the world. So he is so freaking nice. And we talked about how Japanese is in the story. Like I use certain cities and, Japanese. And next time I'm in LA, we're going to grab a brew or something. But that's my good news. We talked about he did some voices for me, and I felt like I'm just going, so cool. Like fanboying over here. So that's some good news. I'm going to have bro night later tonight with my brother. So I've never said that on a podcast before. I had a really good week. Just so productive.
That's awesome.
So, yes. Oh, good news. My grandma does not have stage 3 cancer. She has stage 2 cancer. So that is a blessing. Thank God.
That is.
It's a blessing. So yeah. I instantly, when my mom told me that, I was just like, said a quick prayer, like, thank you so much, God. I needed that. So good news. That's my good news for the week. That's it. Yeah. Scott and White here in Texas said she had stage 3, but they were completely wrong because my parents actually took my grandma to a cancer specialist and she has stage 2. And they're like, it's really obvious. I don't know why they said this. I'm just like, what? That's like a big difference to tell somebody you're in stage 3 or stage 2. So that's good news.
That definitely is.
Yes, yeah. And public service announcement, cancer is ass. Like, seriously, guys. Oh, another good news. I'm doing a charity event on Halloween night at my house. I know no one here lives in Texas, but you are more than welcome to fly to Texas and give us donation money for cancer research. But you can also, I probably could do something on my channel or my Facebook accepting money for cancer. So that's good news. Really, it's just an announcement, something really cool I'm doing. I'm building a haunted house just for cancer research. So cool. I can call it Scaring Cancer Away. That sounds not right. Anyway. So enough about cancer. We're talking about something today. And that something is... Actually, I do know what it is. I'm just messing around with you guys.
Let's hear it, Stevie.
It's... Who has the better fried chicken sandwich, Chick-fil-A or Arby's? What Stevie means to say is he has no idea what we're talking about this week. I do. It's vasectomies in fantasy.
You get one more try, Stevie.
When good people do nothing.
Very good.
Hey.
So tell us, Stevie, tell us a little bit of introduce this topic for us.
You know what? If you want to talk about something that really pisses me off, it's when good people do nothing.
Yeah.
But if you are a martial artist, and I think Whit is, because I see some kung fu stuff in the background. Am I right?
Yeah, I am sitting in Jade Mountain Martial Arts right now. That's my school. We teach Kung Fu, Tai Chi, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's actually a class going on right now. They're strangling each other as we speak.
That's actually, don't get me and Andy started. We love our martial arts. We had a whole podcast on it. I think it went 20 minutes over. But first of all, I saw this, and I that's what I learned in Hungar. That's how we bowed in Hungar.
Yep.
Is that what kind of kung fu? Here I go, Andy. But I gotta ask.
I teach Northern Mantis Kung Fu, and I also I got an instructor certification in Krav Maga, the long way, not the short way.
What is that?
And Krav Maga is Israeli self-defense.
It's long way, short way.
Sometimes folks can take a very short seminar and get a short certification.
That's possible.
And it is. But it took me, well, basically forever to get my certification. And I was very proud of it. It's a lot of kind of hard knocks and stuff, but it's very good stuff. It illuminated a lot of things within my Kung Fu practice. And it's the same for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all of those things. It's just, it becomes one big body of work. And even though the arts are very different, I'm learning one thing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I'm like, look at that move in Kung Fu, it references this, or, something in Krav Maga is that's actually very Kung Fu-y, that move comes from Kung Fu. So, and that's what I do. I mean, I own and run the school, and so it's a real fun day job. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, isn't Krav Maga and Northern Mantis? So, isn't Northern Mantis a soft kung fu?
Well,
Or
Kung Fu. I mean, well, no, not so much pressure point.
That's like the rumor for like us Hungarians, or what do you want to call us? Or like,
right?
It's like they'll just touch your neck in a certain spot, and you just are paralyzed for life.
Yes, I touch you with my thumb on your chest, and you go down. No, not quite, not quite. No, Northern Mantis. It's a very traditional style of Kung Fu that involves a lot of trapping and joint locking, but it's a little bit acrobatic because Northern systems tend to be more jumpy. But it's not as acrobatic as, say, wushu, what we call wushu here, where there's a lot more of the flippy, flyy, hurricane or butterfly type kicks.
Like aesthetics kind of thing, isn't it? It's like for show.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's very impressive, and it takes a tremendous amount of work and discipline to perform that stuff well. So, what we do is just different. It's a more traditional style of Kung Fu with we use a lot of forms and joint locks and their throws and traditional weapons, swords and spears and, halberds and all that kind of thing. And, but it's a lot of fun. And so that traditional part of the art, and then learning something like Krav Maga, which is very straightforward self-defense, there's no formality to it, but it's highly technical. It's highly technical and effective. And so putting those things together has been so much fun. And it's the kind of thing I can pursue forever. So I really dig it.
I didn't think Krav Maga would be so technical. I thought it would be something where you just punch him in the face and then kick him in the groin or something.
Well, it's funny you should say that. There is no Krav Maga without a kick to the groin.
Is there really?
I mean, that's somebody says, no, it's true. They say no groin, no Krav Maga.
It makes
because
sense,
it's a great target. I mean, come on.
That's what I'd go for.
Yeah, but knowing how, knowing when, that stuff's important. Timing is important, and having a series of movements that are really good for certain situations, all that counts. It's not just being able to throw a punch or a palm strike or a kick or an elbow. It is a very different style and it moves differently. And, but it's like, it's really effective. So I like it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing it. Well, Andy wanted me to Annie, I will tell you. So at a young age, I thought if a good person did nothing, I thought they were the worst thing ever. They should just die. But when I went through martial arts, which is what got us onto the topic, was I learned that sometimes you can't put yourself into that situation because you'll harm yourself and the people around you, and then you should let the higher authorities. So I was torn, and it took me forever to reach that, I guess, level of maturity. And you really have to judge a situation, because you could be walking in on a guy hitting a girl, but it's really the girl who was the assaulter. And that blew my mind. I was like, no way, a girl could never assault a guy, you know? So,
Yeah, they can. I mean,
you don't know when you walk into a situation, right?
You don't know.
You just don't know. You could really be putting yourself in harm, or if you're with your family and then you leave them behind to go save somebody, where's your responsibility lie? So I could talk about when good people do nothing for a long time, because it's something that I had a really hard time getting over in martial arts. Andy, why don't boom, Andy. Boom. Give me a clap at least, Andy.
No, because you see, doing nothing would be sitting back and watching. Not doing nothing would be calling the authorities.
True. That's very true. Whit, so I'm guessing you were the one who came up with this.
Kind of. In thinking about, I was asked what is the theme that you touch on in your books, and one of the things is, with great power comes great responsibility. And if I look at all of my works, my epic fantasy, my urban fantasy, I noticed that thread goes all along through those main characters. That all of them have they're either thrust into a situation or they have some extra ability that they discover, and they're given choices to, you need to do something about a situation that's really bad, and you can do something about it. And in my first series, the one person, there are 6 people chosen to fight a great evil, but one of the people doesn't do it. He refuses because he only wants to stay home. He only wants to protect his family. And he's like, no, I don't care if I was chosen. I don't want to do that. That's not my responsibility. And the main guy, the Nick Fury kind of guy, he's like, well, I can't make you come with us. So I hope you change your mind. And, of course, things go bad and a whole bunch of people suffer as a result, including his direct family. And so then he decides to do it, but the motives are different. And so it's like, well, maybe if you'd have done something, it might have turned out differently. So if you can do something, just like Andy said, if it's in modern society, maybe doing something is calling for the authorities, because that is doing something. But in terms of the writing, I like to see characters that they have the ability to do something and they choose to do something about it for the greater good. And even if they don't start that way, maybe they realize that that's why they should be doing these kinds of things, because it's for the greater good.
And often really the only thing that turns someone into a hero is just that choice to stand up and do something. We're talking about in fiction right now. Like, that was the theme of sort of the Ragged Heroes story, the Heroes Wanted anthology that I'm part of upcoming. It's the same thing. It's all about people who aren't necessarily heroes by birth or by trade. It's not the knights in shining armor. It's not the heroic kings. It's not your classic hero stereotype, but it's people who see something, whether it's injustice, whether it's evil, whether it, something's happening, and they choose to stand up. That's what makes the difference in all of these stories, or in pretty much every single fantasy story. And to some degree, there's someone who says, look, there's this bad thing coming, whether it's, the evil sorcerer is about to take over the world, or, the bad guy is going to stab the other bad guy, or the less bad guy, or whatever. There's always some degree of making that choice. And I think that choice is what makes people the hero.
Right. I agree completely. And I think that we need those kinds of stories to illustrate that, this is something that actually can happen. And it shows a person, depending on the author, depending on the story, you could really resonate with a character and is like, man, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I think. and that character chose to stand up and do something, and that's virtuous, that's important, that's responsible. And when you read those kinds of stories, that works its way into your subconscious and works its way into your behavior, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because then you have this idea that, well, if shitty little nobody from the story I read did something and became a hero, in a way I can become a hero in my own right. Not really hero, because that's too fantastical and fictional for real life, but you can stand up, you can make that choice, take that action, and there is a certain amount of heroism in it that we can bring into our own daily lives. Well, I thought I saw a deer running past my window.
Was that you, Andy, who said that?
The deer, yeah.
Was there really a deer?
I don't know. I think so.
I hope it's a deer. So Whit, like Andy said, do you believe there's always something that we could do?
Yeah, I do. The trick is figuring out what it is, because it is not always the best plan to jump in and tackle somebody that you think is the bad guy. You see two guys fighting, one of them, let's say he's a stereotypical big tattooed, scary looking guy, what many people would consider scary looking, and the other person is much smaller and doesn't look like that. You don't know who the aggressor was. You don't know what the situation is. And if you simply go and tackle the bigger guy, that could be the biggest mistake ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just makes it difficult. But doing something, I think, is important. If you see a conflict and you don't know what's going on, call somebody, do something, make a ruckus. That helps.
Make a ruckus. Yeah, that's definitely something. So what if people are just born cowards and they're just so scared, they're peeing their pants scared? Should we blame them for not doing anything?
Everybody responds to stresses differently, and I don't know what a person's upbringing has been, what kind of stresses they have, what kind of mental processes they have, and so I would try to default to kindness, and I say, I don't know what kept that person from doing something. I try and be compassionate about that kind of thing, even if I would think that I myself might have done something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know unless I'm thrust into that situation. I don't think anybody does until they've been in the situation.
Now you got me thinking about all these situations and wondering if I would do it. I mean, I know I would do something. I think just the other week I saw people, I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but just guys drifting in the movie theater parking lot, and it was a full parking lot, and I know kids are walking, so I called the police. I mean, we don't have to think about some crazy thing for us to speak up or do something. It's not like I ran in the road like, stop what you're doing. No, I called the proper authorities because the first thing I thought of was, I don't want a kid getting run over, because these other kids are trying to, show off their cars or whatever. So, but
I think that's actually a very wise decision, and it keeps you safe, it keeps other people safe, and I think that's probably the best thing to do, rather than go fling yourself in front of the cars and be like, stop.
Yeah,
probably not.
You shall not pass.
Show how. So with this, I can already see there being a big problem for people who need to prove something. So not only do we have the opposite of somebody not wanting to do it because they're scared, but now we have people who take it overboard and just want to prove something to maybe themselves or maybe to someone else who they're with. So now
that's a factor of ego.
That's what?
Yeah, that's a factor of ego. It's like that's one of the things that I've loved about martial arts, is that it stripped away a certain amount of my ego to where I don't feel like I really need to prove anything. I would rather not fight. I don't want any trouble. I really don't. I know some stuff, but in fights, everybody gets hurt, and sometimes people get really hurt or killed. And I think that if more people trained in martial arts the right way, that would lower that need. It would eliminate that need in many people to prove themselves. I had a good friend who always had close calls, almost had fights. And I finally talked him into, going to train in martial arts where he lived. And he has said many times that helped him. And he now does not have those kinds of close calls because he doesn't have that need to, that fear. He doesn't have that need to prove himself anymore. It's just gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's inherent, like from the beginning of when you start learning. I mean, this is the capacity for violence and the control, self-control to not do it. Like that's literally what it means. So it's what they ingrained into you from the beginning. And I know that when I was studying it, since I've studied it, it's definitely been a lot more controlled over those sort of reactions. And that's kind of the other side of good people doing nothing, is knowing when to not do something.
Right. You don't want to fling yourself into something that you don't understand and you don't, recognize the real danger of the situation, when you could choose to do something that's safer and still every bit as effective. Let someone else who's better able to handle it, the kind of a thing, come and take care of it.
Yep.
Sorry, people are thinking that this was a tiger or a snake, and it's my cat. It's Monkey. It's funny. As soon as I made a small commercial for my book for Facebook ads, and as soon as the camera comes on, she's always up here trying to show off. So I had to get Lisa to come get her down. And now here she is again, rubbing her face on my finger, trying to get her face wet. Super cute. But what I was going to say is, Whit, I'm sure you get this all the time, or maybe you don't. Hopefully you don't. But when I joined martial arts, I had the opposite effect for the first month or 6 months. Okay, let's say 6 months, where my ego grew because now I have this power. But then the more training I had, they literally beat that ego out of me. We
see that a lot in our younger males, generally speaking, our younger males.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Testosterone is a heck of a thing,
I started when I was 11 and didn't stop until I was probably 23. And it would grow, like it would get bad and it'd get small. Like if I joined a new art and I knew so much stuff already, it's like it reawakened in me, right? To prove something to these other guys, like, oh, I just because I'm wearing a white belt doesn't mean I'm a brown belt in something else. Let me show you. And then you end up getting embarrassed because the master comes and shows you what's what.
Right.
And it's really humbling, especially with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like once you get to the ground and you haven't taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know nothing. It's like the baby,
I had trained for 18 years in Kung Fu and kickboxing, and I was in very, very good shape. I was much younger, and my current sensei, he teaches in my school. I'm fortunate to have that coach here, and my first exposure to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo was a seminar that he and one of his friends taught in my school, in the school that I was training in. And his buddy held me down on the floor for 2 minutes without using his hands.
What?
Whoa.
And he just kind of, like he kind of Supermaned on my chest with his hands up, and he just moved with me, and he was real relaxed, and I was doing everything I could to try and get out from under that guy, and it just did not work. And he even started, now that's a good cup there.
Sorry.
I pooped today. He even started coaching somebody else while he was pinning me on the floor. He's like, okay, you loop your arm around his neck, grab a hold of the thing. Yeah, that's it. And then he looked at me as like, okay, you still have another minute to go, Whit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got to learn this stuff. And it is exceedingly humbling, and it should be, because the more times that you can be humbled properly throughout your training, it keeps you humble as your skill level increases. And it's like I know what I know. I know the things I'm good at. I know there's a lot of people that may not be as good at certain things as I am, but I also know there are people out there who can make me look stupid.
Yeah.
So I just want to be polite to everybody.
Yeah, so the bad thing about martial arts, the one thing I found was that you have to find the right master, because some never. A lot of people would argue with this, but I'll stand by it. But some artists, some masters just never have lost that ego side. And once they get new people in, I feel that is their chance to assert their power over somebody. And I saw this more than once, because the reason why I know it's true is because I've seen the opposite. And I've had truly kind masters who actually genuinely wanted you to learn and didn't care about showing off. But I've had masters who would take their student who was probably the best and would just destroy them in front of everybody. Not hurt them, but it was an obvious attempt to show their mastery over this other person. Or the worst I've seen is the master talking about other students to me or someone else one side. And it's just, I think you have to be careful with, I mean, it's funny already talking to you, Whit, I could tell you're not like that. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your ass. It's just, you can tell by the way someone
that would be weird.
Yeah. Get over here, Whit.
Yeah. But no, I know exactly what you mean. And, I'm always disappointed when it's thankfully rare for me to have run across folks like that, the high level instructors that really seem to enjoy putting students in their place or demonstrating how amazing they are or how overpowering they are. And, it's like you, as an instructor, you have to have a certain amount of respect from your students. They must believe that you can teach them. And some folks think that includes that you have to be able to beat them at all times in everything. I'm getting older now, and it's like I recognize that being a good instructor means you can teach the student to be the best they can be. And if a student that I teach goes beyond me in skill level, that's a big win for me. That's amazing. That's great. And I'm so excited and so proud. It doesn't matter. I don't have to be the toughest person in the school. I have to be the one who can transmit the information and help each student find their best self so that we turn out a bunch of warrior scholars instead of a bunch of jerk thugs. It's like, that's not what we want.
Why can't you be more like a guy?
Sorry, I just, fear does not exist in this dojo. Well, it sure does. Let's talk about it though.
Actually, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the one time I had the worst instructor. And when I walked away and said, okay, yeah, there are some instructors who do not need to be. I kept telling him I had back problems. And the one day I quit was we did a full day of chokes and locks or chokes.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to the hospital the next day, and it turned out I had 2 discs in my neck. And
that's not good.
I went back and you know what the first thing he did was? He went and checked and made sure I signed the what is it? The
waiver.
The waiver. And he brought it to me and said, well, you did the waiver. And I was like, I wasn't going to do anything. I was just letting you know that I'm hurt and I want my money back. And or not my money back. I wanted to cancel it. And then he proceeded to charge me another. It was so unprofessional. And I should have learned when he said I was a douche for driving a yellow Mustang. I'll never forget that. And I continued to train under this guy because I thoroughly enjoyed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yes. And I could talk all day about that. But ego, also what I've learned from, what is his name? Anyway, ego is edging God out. And I love that saying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely something that martial arts took. When we talk about when good people do nothing, that was something that blew my mind when I learned that I shouldn't. It's called a sheepdog in Texas, where you go out of your way.
Right. Yeah.
You've heard sheepdog?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I felt like the sheepdog mentality made people more aggressive than really taking the situation and call the police, not step in and use your fists. So
it depends if you have a really aggressive sheepdog or if you have one that really, has more wisdom. The desire to protect people, I think, is important. The skills to protect yourself and other people are likewise important. The wisdom to know when to use those kinds of things, especially when violence may result, that wisdom is really important.
I think it's going to be harder for younger males, but like you said, everyone's different. I was highly competitive when I was younger. I was so freaking competitive.
Yeah.
I was what you described, in karate class. I was taller than everyone else. I was bigger than everyone else, but that changed in high school and I stayed at 5'8". And then everyone heard Andy's size. I'm like, hey, come back down here. Let me show you what's up.
You got a little bit of a
Right.
Napoleon complex there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I did. But real quick, I want to say a big thank you to Joshua for helping me out with the green screen, by the way. Thanks, man. Hey, Andy, real quick, I was thinking we could, before we do the reading, do you want to ask if anyone has questions before we move on to the reading?
Sure.
Something new. Anyone have any questions? Hurry up. No, I'm kidding.
Now we have an awkward silence. Maybe what we can start doing, Stevie, is
Throughout the podcast?
Earlier on.
Yeah. I got you. Well, Whit, real quick, can you tell us about your books? I forgot to ask you at the very beginning.
Yes. Let's see. I write epic fantasy and urban fantasy. Epic fantasy, I kind of look at it as, especially my first trilogy, it's like Lord of the Rings with a little bit of an Avengers touch to it. You know, a team of heroes must gather to fight the big bad sorcerer, and then it gets pretty funky from there. And I have another duology that comes 20 years after that.
Duology?
Some of the just 2 books. And I have some of the characters from the previous story are still around 20 years later, and they're heavily involved. A little bit older, more middle-aged, but still causing trouble and helping out. And then the urban fantasy, it seems like that urban fantasy has been a lot more popular for me. And anyway, I have 2 books. One book is out, the other one is in editing. And it's the Grimm Fairy Chronicles, where the Grimm is tasked with keeping the peace or keeping the balance between light and dark, good and evil, but he does it in an ugly way. If he gets word from the goddess, hey, this sorcerer is tipping the balance, you need to go handle that. He says, okay. And he goes and slashes him to pieces and says, job done. And so
I like the cover.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Actually, Raina. Is it Raina?
Ariana.
Ariana's. Those are really nice.
Ariana.
I think I know.
Oh yeah, I got a great cover lady, man. She's really amazing.
Yeah, these are really good. Well, awesome. So, which book are we reading from today?
Let me go look. Hold on 1 second. Okay, this is from the second book that is currently in editing. So if there's a typo, feel free to kick me in the nuts. But
I'll Krav Maga.
Yeah, just Krav Maga me right there. Bam.
That front kick.
Yeah, exactly.
Your boys between my toes. That's what my master used to say.
And the narration is done from the point of view of the Grimm Fairy, and he is a fairy. He's humanoid. Uses an illusion to appear as a rather nondescript human, but beneath it, well, he doesn't, claws, fangs, all that kind of thing. So he's kind of scary.
Nice. Okay. So you're the director. Why don't you tell us who you think should play what part?
Well, who wants to be Ariana?
I don't.
Crickets.
Stevie.
I don't mind playing Ariana.
All right, and then let me see, who else have I got here? All right,
I'll do the other voices.
All right, you do the other voices. I got Jim and Avery. Avery is a female detective, and she is tough as all get out, and she can fight really well. And then Jim is a little older, more of a middle-aged cop. That's her partner, and he just likes to let her beat people up so he can watch.
And who's doing the narrator?
I'll do that because I already know the guy.
Awesome. And real quick, we had a very good question from Rashawn. I know it's getting late, but it was too bloody of a scene. Andy, what was your scene real quick?
There's about 3 chapters or 4 chapters in Darkblade Seeker where the hunter is the prisoner of the Masters of Agony, basically professional torturers. Okay. And Ooh. I went through pretty much the most creative tortures that I could not only find, but, like with research, historically accurate, but also could conceive of. But again, I don't think it's too bloody because it was necessary for the story.
So if it's necessary, blood is okay.
I mean, if it's necessary for the story.
Well, for me, it was in the Jigsaw Blade where I actually, check it out. It looks weird on the screen with the green screen.
Oh, wow.
Wait, I'm going to see if you can see my face.
through the solid book. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's funny. Well, okay, don't worry about it. Yeah. Anyway, forget that happened. Oh, that made me laugh. Sorry, hold on. Jesus, is this live, Andy? Is this live?
This is 100% live, Stevie. The evidence that you just did that is now on the internet for all time for Rebecca to Photoshop
No.
however she sees fit.
I'm watching it. Look at my eyes; they're like crying. I watched it on YouTube again. So the bloodiest scene was on the jigsaw blade, where the jigsaw gets to Finn is having it carry him across the snow, and it catches up with a savage, basically a I don't know a savage, like one of those like Fred Flintstone guys, and it tears into him. And I describe it as a blood and gore puree. And it's not too bad compared to my other books, but for what Jigsaw is, it's too much. And it gets in his mouth, and he tastes the iron, and it's the contrast of the blood on the snow. I describe all that, and it's kind of gory for the Bizarre Blade series. And the reason why I thought that, because I was just listening to that scene, I was like, oh my god, I'm sick. Why did I do that? What about you, Whit? Do you have an idea?
No. So tell me the question again so I can give you a better answer.
Oh, what is? Hold on. What is the? Is there a scene you guys have wrote that you think that is too bloody?
Okay. Well, as has been said, it depends on the scene, and the scene I kind of needed the scene to be bad for its for the horror value. It's, let me see. Terror is being scared of what's might happen, and horror is when you see it happen and go, oh, that's awful. So I was going for the horror effect on this one, and I had a squad of soldiers sent to check things out. Only one returned, and he was kind of gibbering and not doing real well. But then he fell on the ground, and a demon basically ripped its way out of his body. It had been sewn into his body, and it ripped its way out, and all the soldiers around killed it with extreme prejudice. And I was like, oh yeah, that's bad.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's get to that reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm playing Ariana.
You are Ariana. And then Andy, you got everybody else?
Yep.
All right. So I apologize in advance for any mistakes I make, because I feel them coming on.
Hey, no problem.
All right, here we go. It wasn't the first time I had stared down the barrel of a gun, and considering my line of work, it certainly would not be the last. It wasn't entirely unexpected, as police officers tend to be a twitchy bunch anyway, but the genuine fear that rose in her eyes as she whipped her gun from its holster and pointed it at me was more of a surprise. My glamour was in place, so I should have looked like an ordinary human. I glanced at the male cop, who had also drawn his gun, but he looked more confused than anything. I looked back at the female and became aware of the intense power radiating from her. I raised my hands slowly to show I meant no harm, and I sent a hint of calming magic her way to ease the tension. This time, it slid off her like water breaking on the rocks. She blinked a couple of times and then glared at me. Uh-oh, I thought at Ariana.
Are you kidding me right now?
Ariana's mental voice was awfully irritated. I couldn't blame her. She kept her hands raised.
Seems like she knows you. An old friend?
Doubtful was the best I could come up with. Ariana rolled her eyes.
You.
The woman's voice was hard, and although her hands were shaking, her stance was firm.
What are you?
At her side, her partner glanced her way in confusion, but kept his gun trained dutifully on us. Ariana spoke up gently.
Look, let us explain. There's a lot going on here that you don't understand.
The cop ignored her, every fiber of her being focused on me.
I said, what are you? You're not human. You can't be.
Her voice trailed off as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. As much as I hate to admit it, I was perplexed. If she were a witch, she might have sensed that I wasn't human, but witches were well acquainted with the existence of the paranormal, of magical beings. That's Magic 101 stuff. How could she possibly tell what I was? I focused more tightly on her, trying to gain a sense of her. Although I could feel the waves of power coming off of her now, there didn't seem to be any structure to contain it, none of the discipline that I often felt from a practiced witch. The answer, or at least something that resembled one, slowly dawned on me. I released the breath I had not known I was holding as I came to the realization that she wasn't a witch at all. Her powers had to be innate, natural, which probably meant that somewhere in her family tree, someone had done some dilly-dallying with one of the fairy. I shifted my perception and was instantly surprised by her cobalt blue and deep indigo aura, shining so brightly it rivaled Ariana's paler blue. She definitely had magic in her blood, and it was thick. Interesting. Although that was remarkable enough, there seemed to be more to the situation that I didn't understand. She was acting like she knew me, not just that I wasn't human. I decided to speak plainly. I looked into her eyes and hoped that the illusory mask I wore expressed my sincerity. I'm sorry, I don't mean to frighten you. I will not harm either of you. I am Kane. Milady, ma'am, I don't believe I know you. She stared at me with eyes gone sea green in anger for a moment. Then she replied in a low, menacing voice that did little for my confidence.
It was a long time ago. You killed my grandfather. I should shoot you right now and be done with it.
At her side, her partner scoffed before he could stop himself.
Avery, you kidding? Your grandfather died when you were a little kid. This guy doesn't look more than 35. What are you thinking?
Her eyes never left mine, and the steel in her voice left no doubt that she believed what she was saying.
It was him. I can feel it, Jim. What does that even mean, you can feel it?
I kept my voice low and calm as I answered him. She is special. I saw recognition in the man called Jim's face, and I turned my attention back to the woman, Avery. You are, aren't you? You know things. You see things. You always have. Am I right? At first, she said nothing, but she lowered her eyes for an instant as if to consider, and when she raised them back to mine, there was something in them besides the cold anger that had risen upon my arrival.
Maybe,
she whispered. Ariana quietly spoke up.
That's rare. We know what it is, and it's very special. I can help you understand this. Yes, it sounds completely crazy, but if you can feel things, if you know that Kane is different, then it's true. You have power in you.
I could see Avery turning things over in her head. Then she glared back at me, the gun barrel aimed at my left eye.
But you killed him. You slashed him open with your...
She glanced at my hands and frowned when she didn't see what she expected.
With your claws. I was there.
I have to admit.
Ariana's voice actually sounded amused in my mind.
That does sound like you.
Would you shut up? I replied. If I did kill her grandfather, I must have had a perfectly good reason for doing so. I don't kill just for fun. I paused. Anymore. Ariana rolled her eyes at me but stayed quiet. I just don't know, though. Maybe I did, but I can't be sure. Ma'am, I don't know anything about your grandfather. That much was true. I've killed humans beyond counting in my time, and although there was a possibility that I might have killed the man, I had absolutely no idea if that was actually the case. I'm kind of a private investigator, specializing in these kinds of cases. We're here to find the one responsible for hurting those innocent people. The man you apprehended was only a contractor, working for someone else. We're after that person. We have a feeling she may do something soon that will hurt a lot more people, but we don't know what.
She?
Jim's eyebrows rose.
You think a woman was behind these, whatever these pills are doing to people?
Ariana nodded.
Yep, we know that little and little else. We were hoping to find out something here, but when we saw you'd gotten here ahead of us, we knew we needed to stop you before you did something to get yourselves hurt. There's dangerous stuff in a place like this.
She looked at Avery, who was still staring at me with those gray-green eyes.
Come on, we're here to help. If you shoot him, you'll probably just piss him off anyway. Please, let us help you.
Then she added,
Look, can't you feel that he's not here to hurt you? Look with your heart. What do you think?
Look with your heart.
Jim mocked Ariana's tone.
What kind of bullshit is this? Let's see some ID. Wait a minute, Jim.
Avery's voice was quiet but firm, and although he was still confused, Jim shut his mouth with a snap. Avery's gaze never wavered. I could feel the energy around her, slowly rising and swirling around her as she stared at me. Her power had an unusual feel to it, and although I couldn't put my finger on where, it dawned on me that I had felt it before. I remained still as she regarded me, my hands raised, my stance unthreatening. Ordinarily, I'd be frustrated with anything that got in the way of our investigation. I was built to kill bad guys, and I love my work. Cops tend to run in slow motion compared to what I'm used to, and they just get in the way. That said, everything in me felt that it was important to make peace with this woman. When I get a feeling that strong, I've learned that it's foolish, even dangerous, for me to ignore it. All I could do was wait and hope that she came to the understanding that we were on the same team, more or less.
Man, I really wish we could keep going with this.
Yeah.
But it sounds so. And your voice, dude, your voice
is
baller.
I would have kept.
Thank you,
because that voice, that narration voice, man. Holy crap!
Thank you. I'm thinking of narrating the Grimm Fairy Chronicles as an audiobook. I'm still working on getting the dead room so that I can do it properly. You know,
probably seriously could do it. Seriously,
you totally should.
Actually, I was thinking you should probably reach out to some of the bigger audio companies and talk to them. Just give them.
Thank you, but no, I don't know that I have time for something like that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, you have the capacity. I kept like trying to picture like if I was listening to an Audible book, and I think you really could do it. So,
thank you. I really appreciate that.
Read the chat; they're all talking about you. You're famous now.
Yay! What? Wait, what?
Wow, Whit, that was awesome. And Rajeen, Rashawn, they all like that voice, man. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
No, it was my pleasure. I appreciate that you let me do it.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate having you here. Where can people find you?
Let's see, www.whitmcclendon.com. And you also could, if you search for me on Facebook, then you can find me. I've got a Whit McClendon author page. I have a page that I initially started when I first started writing called The Fire of the Jidan, which is a pain. That's the name of the first trilogy. And then I finally realized it's like, look, I'm going to write more books. I really should have a page with my name on it.
Good idea. Yeah.
But anybody Googles me, Whit McClendon, you'll find me. I'm right there.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on air.
I had so much fun. Thank you, guys. And I'm sorry about the whole video issue.
You're good, man.
That's totally fine. We like being the handsomer guests on the podcast.
Yeah.
So it worked out nicely for us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Awesome, man. And Andy, who do we have next week? Do you know?
Someone super amazing and awesome who I totally cannot remember offhand.
Probably will come on the air nude, so definitely you want to check that out. It's my twin brother, Esteban. Plot twist. Okay, guys. Well, that is it for this Fantasy Fiends podcast. Please, if you're still here watching, please hit that like button. We really appreciate you. And also something that you could do for us, and I will blow a kiss your way with these lips. Why do I have to make things weird, Andy?
Yeah, just get to the point.
Please share the video with someone who you think would enjoy this video. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, or I will send Whit. Who's that weird guy that we were just talking? The narrator.
What are you talking about? I don't know. What?
The narrator
character from your book.
Yeah.
That is Kane, the
Kane.
Grim Fairy himself. He is the main character.
I will send Kane the Grim Fairy on you guys. So I thought he was going to say with Andy's lips. Yeah. So please share this with somebody you like or someone who would enjoy this. We really appreciate you all, guys. We love you so much. Whit, thanks for being on air with us. We'll see you guys next week on the Fantasy Fiends podcast.
Yay!
Good night. Stop, Stevie.
You don't have your spray bottle. I can do what I want. Poor Whit.